What is up, all you lovely peoples of the YouTubeverse? This little hippie here, coming back to you guys, talking to you today about setting up fish tanks and having the patience it takes to get your tank exactly to what you want it to be. Fish keeping can be difficult if you overthink it. It's actually a lot easier if you just go with the flow and let nature do a bit of its thing. But just by saying that, you're not going to know what I mean. So right here, let's go ahead and talk about what I be getting at. So first off, to set up your tank, the best thing to do when buying your tank, decide what fishes you're going to put into it first. So there's going to be different sizes, different ammonia levels of what the, bathroom habits are with these fish, or maybe snails, maybe shrimp. Whatever you're trying to get, you need to think about that first. And then get the tank that works best for that species. So rather than just buying a tank and then wondering, well, what can I put in this tank I just bought? Now, there are some situations where you wind up with the tank first. And then you're sitting there scratching your head, well, what can I put in here? But for the most part, if you're going to the store and you're starting from scratch and doing everything step by step, first thing to think about is what fish you want. And then get the tank gallon size that will adapt best to that fish's needs. Now, if it's a fish that needs a bigger tank that you can put other fish in, then decide what other fish you're going to want to put in. This does need a bit of research on your part. You can't just go to a pet store and expect that individual right there is going to know as much as someone like myself does about fish keeping, and parameter levels and everything like that. So you're kind of throwing at a dartboard if you're just walking up to a pet store and expecting the guy or gal back there to just kind of throw down whatever knowledge you want to hear. I have a lot of people being very thankful that they talk to me, because I wouldn't be doing this YouTube channel if I didn't know a lot, if I didn't study, if I didn't do all this stuff beforehand myself. Because of my job and everything, I want to make sure that my customers know how to take care of their animals the best. We want equilibrium between animal care and understanding of people, because what you give to the animal does give back to you. And either it's so fun just to watch and swim around. And a lot of fish do have personalities and they react to you, so those kind of things you get only if you start with the early steps. Now, setting up your tank. You are not going to be able to put your fish in the same day your tank is set up. There are some advanced techniques you can do. There are some things, if you take stuff out from other tanks and put it into your tank, that you can jumpstart a bacteria, sort of like influence into the tank where it kind of spreads around, and it will cause a bacterial bloom. Your tank will look whitish, and that's another thing I'm going to be getting into, but that's not the details we're on right now. So, you're probably wondering, well, I can go ahead and get me a goldfish and put it in like a smaller tank, right? Because we see that on TV and stuff. Absolutely not! Do not do that. That is terrible. You are going to destroy that poor fish's life and health. Goldfish can live 15, 30 years even. Problem with them is that, like a platypus, fun fact, they don't have stomachs. What a goldfish eats, it kind of goes right through the system right fast. So they are going to have a huge ammonia level. They are one of the dirtiest fish you can keep. And their average size can be about 8 to 12 inches long. There are fish found that are goldfish in, released in ponds and stuff, like up to 3 feet long, almost as large as koi can be. So, you really have to consider that. If you do want a smaller tank, consider other smaller aquatic species, such as guppies, shrimp, maybe even a small little snail community if you like mollusks like that. But with the big tanks and stuff, goldfish are going to need like a 30 or 40 gallon tank, just for one, to start, Not when they're young, maybe. I mean, you might be able to start with a 20 or 30 and move them up some, but because they're such dirty animals, a goldfish is not a good starter fish. I'm going to say that right now. I got a lot of people coming up asking about the goldfish, because you got these goldfish that are like 20, 40 cents, but they're feeders. They're going to be not as healthy. They're going to be run down. The fancy goldfish, fancy I say it in quotations, because the different species of goldfish that are bred to be tank fish are more expensive, but are also healthier. So if you are starting your first tank and you think a goldfish is awesome, rethink that a little bit. Do a lot of research on it. Make sure you know what you're getting into, because goldfish keeping ain't the way we think it is, if you're just coming into it and thinking about what you see on TV or in video games. Ain't no fish supposed to be kept how you keep fish in Animal Crossing. Alright? If the tank is just a square that the fish is sitting in, like in Animal Crossing, you're kind of doing it wrong. And it's going to be causing the fish all sorts of misery and early death, ammonia burn. The list goes on about why it's important to think about what fish you want first. Because if you're getting in the fish keeping thing, you've seen a video about some fish that you like. You think, hey, that's a cool looking fish. And this YouTuber or this TikToker has a very cool relationship with this fish. I want that relationship with that fish. You got to do your research then, alright? Go online, get on more YouTube channels and stuff, cross-reference. Just don't go off of one person's thing, because the animal keeping world is so diverse, so vast, so different, because everyone's adapting to the need of their individual fish. Not every betta is going to be like the other betta as personality and stuff goes. Not every goldfish is going to be like every goldfish as everything else goes, because there are personalities, even with fish, and there will be those differences. And you, as the caretaker, will have to watch and adjust. Now, because of that, do think about what did I say with goldfish, because they have no stomachs and stuff. Think about how much you're going to feed and how much cleaning you're going to have to do. Research if you want to do more of a biosphere thing and have plants doing the work for you. Look into what type of filters you want, and then see what space you got to do all that with too. Sometimes you're not going to be able to start with the fish you want, and that's okay, because sometimes starting with that more basic level, that easier care sort of fish, like your betta, might help you lead into something better. Now with betta fish, let me get on this right quick. Y'all gotta realize they do love to swim around. They love watching the space. I would say for a betta fish, a lot of people say 2.5 gallon minimum. I prefer to say more like a 5 gallon minimum, because I just watch how they explore everything, and I hate those stinking cups, man. I really do. I work at a place that has them cups, and you know, I'm not a fan. Just gonna say that. I love what I do. I love working with animals. I don't love the way that our store does everything about them, but then again, that's an opinion. I'm just happy to work with animals, and I'm glad to keep doing what I'm doing, because I'm learning more about animal caretaking every day, and I just use that to pass the knowledge on to y'all. And then from this here, with the fish stuff. Okay, so we got about what fish to pick. We got about what tank to kind of look at. So that's with just 2 basic examples. Now we're going to get into the water setup, the cycling, and everything. Usually, you would want to run your tank anywhere between a couple of weeks to a month if you're not using any bacteria starters, or you're not taking anything from other tanks and adding it into your system, aka gutting a tank is what we would call it, where you take the rocks or the core from a different tank that's been established for a minute, and you move that over to a tank that's brand new. Usually jump starts the system really good. You can do the same thing with filter pads, but if you do this, you are going to come into a bunch of funky looking water. And if you are doing this, you already experienced some in tanks, so you already know what bacterial bloom is and what algae bloom is. So a bacterial bloom is going to be white, cloudy looking water. Algae blooms usually show up as brown or green. Now, if you do see brown in your water, just make sure what kind of wood pieces or leaves you might have put into your water, because tannids are a thing, and they will color the water brown. It's a natural process. And if you're doing stuff like betta fish and guppies and shrimp, they actually do kind of like that style of water. It makes them feel good. You know, it's just a good environment from what they're used to in the wild before they came up to us and everything. But with that, we are now here with stocking, mixing. How many fish should I put in my tank? Am I going to overload my tank? So there's a fun rule of thumb. I call it a rule of thumb because it's not exact. You are going to say have some fish. That's why I say research. Some fish might have them more ammonia output. So when I say ammonia, what do I mean when I'm saying ammonia? So all creatures, we have ammonia in our waste. You know, when we use the bathroom, there's ammonia in there. And in a tank system, in a water system, in the nature, normally you have moss, plants, and a large water mass that absorbs and kind of neutralizes these ammonias. And a tank that you're building with yourself it's not going to have that removal process to the same degree. Unless you've done, again, your research and built everything. If you have a fully planted tank with plants that have been established, what I mean by established, they've been in there for a minute. The roots are good, their leaves are green, and they're just ready to absorb all of anything that's left behind in the water for nutrition. If you got that, that's going to help you a lot with that. But the rule of thumb is for every inch of fish, you want to try and match your gallon's worth of water. Getting back to that little thing before I got distracted there. That thing right here, it is a loose rule, of course, because some fish and some species of creature are going to have way less of that ammonia, nitrates, stuff like that. And those are other things off of byproducts of the waste. That will be something I'll have to explain another time. It'll be about water testing and stuff like that. I can get more into that. But these are all things that you're going to see as fish, shrimp, or snails are living in your little aquatic system, using the bathroom in there. Those levels can rise and fall based on what you're doing with your tank. So if you want to keep all that down, you can go ahead and do the plants. Live plants is amazing. I would say if you're going to do plants, I'll do a video on how to do plant care and everything in due time. But to try and load up all about this plants and stuff on top of all about setting your fish tank up, there ain't going to be time. Another thing that I like, a really good way for controlling ammonia and nitrate levels if you're not going to do plants, Chem Prime is so good for that. It is a dechlorinator. So when I say dechlorinator is something, if you're going to get water from the sink and you live in pretty much North America is where I'm at, and I get most of my questions from there since I live there, there's going to be chlorine in the water. Trace amounts, of course. It's not really that dangerous to mammals, but to reptiles and fish, very dangerous, and even birds. I would say don't even give the water from your sink to birds. Get a filter, do something for that, but we're not talking about them today, we're talking about fish. The chlorinator is a big thing. If you're getting your water from a well system or something, just make sure it's not filtered. If you're using filtered or distilled water, it kind of sucks a lot of the minerals, a lot of the good stuff out the water, and you're pretty much going to suffocate your fish that way. Because the natural minerals, the natural bacteria that we don't see, that are working at a microscopic level, make the water parameters easy to breathe, easy to live in for your aquatic species of animal. And you do want to kind of do that for them because you do want the best for them. If you're going to go ahead and spend a bunch of money on a tank and a filter and a heater, you're going to want to make sure that what you're getting all this for lasts you a while. And these are some key things that I have learned through my experience of many years doing this that kind of help with that. So back to the bacterial bloom and all those blooms with the mold and stuff. It's gonna be a patience game to get rid of it a lot of the times, you know. The more you do to try and force it down with that stuff, the more it's gonna get worse. So for a bacterial bloom, best thing to do is just make sure you keep that water movement going, you keep it rolling, keep your light cycles as it should be, and it will go away in time. You can kind of do partial water changes as you would. If you do find something like an AccuClear or something, you can put some of that in there. I found it works 50-50, you know. Again, the less you're moving stuff around and trying to fix the bacterial bloom, the water will clear up very quickly. Otherwise, if you keep messing with it, you keep trying to change it, the water's going to stay white. Why the water turns white like this and why the bacterial bloom's happening, water parameters are slightly off. Are they deadly? Most likely not, but they will kind of make your tank not fun to look at if you just want that clear water tank look. With the mold and stuff, you have multiple ways that work a little bit better, that make things go by a little bit quicker, even so much as what I would call a UV filter, which is a fun little filter that'll suck water through like a little slot, kind of like a CD-sized slot, and it zaps the water it's sucking through with UVB. And that UVB kills the mold and lets the water come right through, and that's if you have a big algae problem to the point where 8 to 10 hour light cycles aren't helping, and you've done the algae fix, you've done the water changes, and if it's still that bad, just purchase that. Otherwise, again, that's one of those things that will go away with time and patience. Algae can be tricky. It reacts to leftover fish food and light cycles. The longer you keep your lights on, the more those little organisms are going to want to go through photosynthesis, and the more it's going to spread through the tank. So there's that nasty green color, that brownish, greenish color. that's a good way to get rid of that. Now, if you got brown in your tank, most likely it's tannins. Just double check what you put in there. If you put natural stuff in there, like mopani wood, catappa leaves, or catappa bark, stuff like that, it will kind of darken your tank some. And I purposely do this myself. I love doing that. And those are the things with the watercolors. If you see those kinds of colors, those are the things I've learned what they are, how to change them. And then, actually, as that goes, that's pretty much the basics of starting a tank and a lot of the problems you'll have with that. Now, the best way to avoid these things, so when you're starting, go ahead and get your tank decorated, rocks, decor. The more surface area you have, the more that good bacteria will cling to the surfaces. Bacteria, yes, it will float in the water, but they mostly cling and breed at a microscopic level on surfaces. So rough surfaces, porous rocks, even the glass on your tank, that's all stuff that you will see, if you could see, if you had microscopic vision, all these little bacteria creatures moving around and stuff. And those are good ones. You want those in your tank. You want them to do their work and make your water naturally healthy for your fish. Other than that, let's think out. That's about everything. I mean, I don't work with a script. I often get just a question and I answer. So it's question answer with me a lot at work, and that's what I do the best in. And the reason why I'm doing this video today is because I got too many people coming in and asking the same thing, and I don't have the time I want to spend with them to tell them everything. Now, if you do have any other questions, comments, something about that, I mean, I've already been like 16 minutes in. If you do have anything else, ask, say something. I do best with ask and respond, and that's how more videos will get done in an even more detailed manner. I need to know what y'all want to hear so I can help y'all out. I do know so much just from study since I've been very young, and then the experience I've had in the last 7 years working with animals. It's just really good. It's really good. And I mean 7 years personal experience. I've worked with animals with my family and stuff, my parents. They mostly took charge of that when I was younger, but I learned from them, and then to this day, I have now taken charge and just made that my career. But anyway, we're kind of getting close to that 20-minute mark. I don't want to keep you all here too long. I just wanted you to guys to know that what I know, what I've been telling people, and yeah, stuttering and all that, all these little bits in here, whatever. I am not running a script. We just running it live. So anywho, all have fun with your day. If you do decide to get something, do your research. And if you don't want to do that much research, ask me, and I can help research it with you. I'm more than happy to help y'all with your animal friends, because it is a very rewarding thing. Anywho, I'm going to lose y'all's attention by this point. Y'all have a good one, and I will be seeing you soon.